Back in 2022, something weird happened in golf. The biggest stars in the sport started leaving, not to retire, but to join a new league. It was called LIV Golf. Backed by Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, they had unlimited money to burn, and they were offering crazy amounts. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. No stress, no pressure, no tough competition. Just play some golf and get paid. Sounds like a dream job, right? But here's the problem. Phil Mickelson reportedly owes $100 million from gambling. Anthony Kim came back after 12 years and finished dead last. Bubba Watson, a two-time Masters winner, almost got kicked out. Lee Westwood went from world number 1 to outside the top 800. This doesn't look like a golf tour. It looks like a retirement home for rich golfers. These players had a choice: quit with respect, or take the cash and slowly fade away. Most of them took the cash. Today we're exposing the 10 washed-up golf stars hiding on the LIV Tour. This isn't hate, it's the truth. Let's start with number 10, Phil Mickelson, the man who built LIV Golf with his own hands. When Phil joined, he was the reigning PGA Championship winner, the oldest major champion in golf history, a true legend of the game. But reports say Phil lost nearly $100 million from gambling. According to investigative reports, he was betting six figures on individual NFL games and losing millions in Vegas casinos. He was drowning in debt, and LIV offered him a $200 million lifeline, so he took it. But the cost, his entire reputation. Since joining LIV, Phil's scoring average has ballooned to 73.2, compared to his career PGA Tour average of 70.2. He's finishing outside the top 30 almost every event. He runs a team called the High Flyers, but in 2024, they finished 11th out of 13 teams. He burned every bridge with the PGA Tour. He insulted the legends of the game. And for what? To become the highest paid struggling golfer in the world. He could have retired as a legend. Instead, he became a cautionary tale. But Phil's decline was expected because of his age. The next guy on our list, he was supposed to be the savior. Coming in at number 9, Anthony Kim. For 12 years, this man was golf's Bigfoot. He disappeared in 2012 after an injury. Rumor has it, he collected an 8-figure insurance payout. And the deal was simple. If he ever played pro golf again, he'd lose the money, so he stayed hidden. Fans treated his return like the second coming of a legend. Everyone believed AK would dominate again. Then he actually played. His first tournament scoring average, 78.3. He finished 55th out of 54 players. Yes, you read that right. Last place, dead last. He looked completely lost on the course. Shanking chips, spraying drives. Nothing was working. LIV gave him a wild card spot for 2026 just to keep him around. Not because he's good, but because his name sells. He's not a competitor anymore. He's a marketing prop. Kim could have stayed retired and kept his legend alive. Instead, he came back and proved the legend should have stayed hidden. But at least Kim had an excuse. He hadn't played in 12 years. The next guy, he has no excuse at all. At number 8, Bubba Watson. This man is a two-time Masters champion. He was famous for shaping shots 40 yards around trees. His creativity on the course was unmatched. But on LIV, he's fighting just to not finish last. In 2025, Bubba ranked 50th out of 54 in the individual standings. That means he should have been relegated, kicked off the tour. But the league's board stepped in and saved him. Why? Because he's too valuable commercially. Translation: he's not a golfer anymore, he's a mascot. The funny part? Bubba publicly said relegation keeps the league competitive. Then he used a loophole to avoid it himself. His brand saved him. His game did not. The Bubba we knew is gone. The next guy on our list, he's barely hanging on. At number 7, Ian Poulter. They called him the Postman because he always delivered. In the Ryder Cup, this man was a monster. His eyes would bulge. He'd pound his chest. And he'd drain putts that broke American hearts. He thrived on pressure. But on LIV, there is no pressure. Guaranteed money, no cuts, no consequences. And without that edge, Poulter looks completely lost. His 2025 season, he finished 42nd in the individual standings. He missed the 2025 Ryder Cup at Bethpage, a venue that was practically built for a villain like him. Instead of silencing 50,000 New Yorkers, he was sitting on his couch. Without competition, Poulter's fire has burned out. He traded his legacy for team equity in the Majestics. Financially, a smart move. Competitively, he's dead. The postman has lost his route. But at least Poulter just faded quietly. The next guy, he got suspended for nose spray. At number 6, Graham McDowell. This man is a US Open champion. He delivered the winning point for Europe at the 2010 Ryder Cup. A true legend of grit and grinding. So how did he end up suspended from LIV Golf? Was it steroids? Performance-enhancing drugs? No, it was Vicks nasal spray. McDowell got slapped with a one-tournament ban and a $125,000 fine, all because his nose spray contained a banned substance. But here's the bigger problem. Even when he plays, G-Mac is a shadow of his former self. His driving distance has dropped to 282 yards, in an era where the LIV leaders average 320 plus. On a tour where bombers like Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka dominate, McDowell has no chance. He's basically just filling a jersey. The only reason he still has a spot, he's a founder of the league. His career has become chaotic. At least G-Mac tries to compete. The next guy on our list, he openly admits he's just here for the free ride. At number 5, Pat Perez. This man is 48 years old with a bad back. When he signed with LIV, he didn't talk about growing the game. He didn't mention innovative formats or competition. He just said, "I'm 46, I've got a bad back, and I just won the lottery." You have to respect the honesty, but you don't have to respect the game. Pat plays on Dustin Johnson's team, the Four Aces. Here's how it works. DJ wins the tournaments, the team splits the prize money, and Pat, he collects a fat check for shooting 4 over par. In 2024, Perez ranked dead last in strokes gained. Approach among all LIV players. Dead last. He's been called the highest paid cheerleader in sports. His job: wear flashy Jordan shoes, blast music, and smoke cigars. He's taking up a spot that could go to a hungry young pro. But he keeps it because he's friends with the right people. He's living proof that LIV is where competitive fires go to die, smothered by piles of cash. But here's the thing about Pat. At least he never lied to us. He cashed out and owned it. The guys ahead of him on this list, they still pretend they're competing, and that makes it so much worse. Because when you stop pretending to care, at least you're being honest. When you fake it, you're insulting everyone watching. The next guy, he was literally the best golfer on the planet. At number 4, Lee Westwood. It's hard to remember now, but this man was world number 1. He ended Tiger Woods' reign at the top. He was one of the most consistent ball strikers in golf history. A true legend of the game. But now, he's a ghost. Westwood's world ranking has plummeted from the top 50 to outside the top 800. Yes, you heard that right, 800. Even within the LIV ecosystem, Westwood is a non-factor. In 2025, he finished 48th in the individual standings, barely avoiding relegation himself. But what makes it even sadder? Every interview with Westwood feels like a complaint session. He blames the rankings. He blames the PGA Tour. He blames the media. He sounds like an angry ex-employee instead of a sporting legend. He had a chance to be a Ryder Cup captain. He had a chance to be a senior statesman of golf. Instead, he's playing out the string on the Majestics, looking every bit of his 50-plus years. The swing is still pretty, but the scores don't lie. The fight is completely gone. At least Westwood is just bitter and fading. The next guy, he literally sold his Ryder Cup captaincy for a check. At number 3, Henrik Stenson. In 2022, this man had the job every European golfer dreams of. Ryder Cup captain. It was his. He had already signed the contract. Then LIV waved a check in his face, and he walked away. Just like that. He was stripped of the captaincy immediately. He traded the honor of leading his continent for a spot on a team called the Majestics. Was it worth it financially? Yes. But looking at him now, you have to wonder. Stenson won his very first LIV event. It felt like a middle finger to the establishment. But since then, crickets. In 2025, Stenson finished 40th in the individual standings. His scoring average is up. His world ranking is in free fall. Meanwhile, Luke Donald led Europe to victory in Rome. Then Donald led them again in 2025 at Bethpage. While Stenson, he's playing 54-hole shotgun starts in front of thin crowds. He sold his legacy. And unlike Mickelson, who has 6 majors to fall back on, Stenson's legacy was tied to his Ryder Cup heroics. He torched that for a payout, and his game has followed suit. At least Stenson still plays. The next guy on our list, he's practically invisible. At number 2, Martin Kaymer. This man sank the putt at Medina, the putt that completed the greatest comeback in Ryder Cup history. He's a US Open champion who dominated Pinehurst, a true legend of European golf. But on LIV, he's completely invisible. When you scan the leaderboards on a Sunday, you have to scroll all the way to the bottom. That's where you'll find his name. Kamer finished 51st in the 2024 LIV individual standings. 51st out of 54. He hasn't been a serious contender in a major since 2014. That's over a decade ago. LIV offered him a lifeline, guaranteed income when his body was failing, and he took it. Now he's the captain of the Cliques, a team that was the laughingstock of LIV Golf for 2 straight years. It's been a revolving door of players because nobody wants to stay. He's a nice guy, but as a competitive force, he checked out a long time ago. At least Kamer is just invisible. The next guy on our list, he's completely heartbroken. Finally at number 1, Sergio Garcia. This one hurts the most. Sergio isn't washed in the same way as Pat Perez. He can still hit the ball. He can still compete occasionally, but he's washed in the only way that matters to him: relevance. Sergio lives for the Ryder Cup. He breathes that atmosphere. He's the all-time points leader in Ryder Cup history. No one has contributed more to European golf. But in 2025, with the Ryder Cup at Bethpage Black, the biggest, loudest stage in golf, Sergio was on the outside looking in. He tried everything to get back in. He offered to pay his fines. He reportedly texted Rory McIlroy. He tried to broker a peace deal, and they shut the door in his face. Since joining LIV, Sergio's world ranking has collapsed from top 30 to outside the top 200. He hasn't made a cut in a major since 2023. The man who once won the Masters, who once carried Europe on his back, is now irrelevant in the sport he defined. Watching him on LIV is like watching a lion in a zoo. He's pacing around, growling, throwing the occasional tantrum at a cameraman. But deep down, he knows he's trapped. He has all the money in the world, but he can't buy the one thing he wants: forgiveness. Forgiveness. When asked about missing the Ryder Cup, Sergio said, "It's the biggest disappointment of my career. Not losing a major, not a playoff. Missing a team event he chose to walk away from. He's exiled." And without the validation of the majors and the Ryder Cup, Sergio's game has become a series of what-ifs and remember-whens. He chose the money, but he lost what mattered most. And there's no escape. So there you have it. 10 legends, 10 bank accounts overflowing with cash, and 10 careers that have hit a dead end. LIV Golf isn't a revolution. It's a very expensive retirement home. Phil burned every bridge for Saudi money. Anthony Kim proved the legend should have stayed hidden. Sergio is trapped in a gilded cage. They all had a choice: retire with dignity or cash out and fade away. They chose the cash, but they lost everything that mattered: the respect, the relevance, the legacy. And maybe that's why we care so much. Fans don't hate losers. We hate sellouts. We'll forgive a player who tries and fails, but a player who stops trying, who trades competition for comfort, that stings, because it reminds us of every compromise we've ever made, every dream we gave up for security, every time we chose the safe path over the right one. These guys are mirrors, and we don't like what we see. No amount of money can stop the clock. No paycheck can replace what they gave up. The spotlight always fades, but how it fades, that's the choice. Remember the question from the beginning? Did they make the right call? The answer is no. So ask yourself this: would you trade your legacy for money? Would you sell your reputation for a guaranteed check? Think about that carefully, because once it's gone, you can't buy it back. The music's still playing, but the lights are coming on. The party is over. If this video made you think, share it with others. Let them see the truth about LIV Golf. Now it's your turn. Did these guys make the right call? Drop your answer in the comments below. And if you believe legacy matters more than money, hit that like button and subscribe. Because this isn't just about golf. It's about what happens when you sell your soul.